Yes. Yes.
Dude, I'm having that weird thing. Oh, yes, man. You can hear the music, right?
Yes.
Oh, that's so weird. I can't hear the music. I guess it's probably because I'm on the Skype line where I can't hear the music.
Yep.
Yes.
So yes, man. Is there anything that you could do to fix that? Can you perform some music for me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I want to hear. Do me a favor. Do your impression of the music that you normally electronically produce. I want to hear.
Yes. 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 Yes.
It's pretty accurate. Yes, man. What did you think of The Incredibles 2? Did you like it? Did you get a boner?
Yeah.
Interesting. Can I talk to Justin?
Anyway, see you later.
Wow. That's messed up.
Yeah, wait here. Bryce, can you put that up? I'll do a dramatic reading here.
Oh, please go for it.
Also, quick disclaimer: if I drop off again, then that means also the battery on the phone that was tethering died. So that may happen. We'll see.
Does that mean
here
that,
we go.
Okay.
Okay,
Contingency plan? Are you going to just be gone if you drop again?
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yes.
guess I don't know. I'll try to call. We'll see.
Yes.
Okay, so then actually the answer is no. You will try that. Okay.
All right, which brings us to the other event. Take your seat at any early evening screening of The Incredibles 2 in the coming days. Listen carefully and you may hear a shifty sound as of parents squirming awkwardly beside their enraptured offspring.
Oh,
But
Jesus.
why, kids? Because mommy just leaned over to daddy and whispered, is it just me or does Mrs. Incredible look like Anastasia in 50 Shades of Grey? You know, that girl in the red room with the whips and all? And daddy just rested his cooling soda firmly in his lap. And like Mr. Incredible tried very hard to think of algebra. And as for how daddy will react later on during the scene in which Helen and the husky-voiced Evelyn unwind and simply talk woman to woman, I hate to think, but watch out for flying popcorn.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my God. No, flying popcorn is kind of hilarious.
Well, no.
I mean, come on.
Man, look, just say the creepy part is not that he's like, just say, man, also she's hot. I popped a boner. That's all you gotta say. You don't have to. You don't
just
have
say
to try
that
to
fucking
wax poetic.
Elastigirl's a pog, fat ass white girl. She's a fucking white girl with skinny hips and a fat ass. It's great. It's awesome. Everybody should watch the movie for a million different reasons, and that's just one of the brilliant points of light in the sky that we call the universe.
Wait.
Somebody in the chat says Elastigirl is back in pog form.
In pog
What is
form.
pog? What is?
He just said it. It's fat ass white girl.
Bonnie was not happy with that answer, I think.
Well, the other thing is now we on the smaller screen we can't see the chat, so it's tougher to follow along.
Yeah, no, look. I thought the movie was good. I thought it kind of lacked a little bit of the narrative cohesion that Incredibles was so great at. But in general, it was a very worthy sequel, and it shows you kind of how much you just really enjoy spending time with those characters.
Spoilers upcoming. It's surprising that it lacked the narrative cohesion, given that it was the exact same narrative.
Oh, well.
And opening moment. Problem. Heroes are illegal, despite doing hero things. And then a figure who seems to appreciate heroes, despite the fact that they're illegal, hires them and puts them to work. Mysterious villain threatens things. Wonder if it's the same person as the person that they were working for. Surprise! It's the exact same movie. And there was a brief moment that I was hoping, like, it'd be really great if there's a big third act twist, and this is the garden path we're meant to be led down, and then they surprise us with something. And I guess it's half a surprise that Bob Odenkirk is just a clueless dope and is, half.
I mean, and also it's like, all right, well, one of these people is twirling their mustache, and the other one is just coolly sort of hanging out in the background and invented all the technology. I wonder who the villain is. And then it's like, oh wait, I think I'm kind of ahead of this story. I bet you Pixar is gonna do that thing where I'm not ahead of this story. It's gonna be another thing. And then it's like, oh no, it's Catherine Keener. Yeah, I'm sure she's gonna put fucking Elastigirl in the sunken place.
Yeah. But the stuff that was all family focused and about the dynamics and about the mom going back to work and all that stuff was pure gold. It was hilarious.
That's
it was
the
great.
first thing. I'll tell you what. I texted both of you immediately after walking out of that movie, and I'm like, I feel like the Brushwood family is going to very much appreciate the story about the mom being the center of attention, while the father, who is used to being the center of attention, has to watch the kids more. Like, I feel like that is going to be a relevant narrative within the Brushwood house.
That, and also we see in Incredibles 1, we mainly see the teenage kid Violet as quiet and reserved, but then we see tantrum throwing, full on puberty Violet, and I was like, you know what? It's probably great that they waited 8 years to give this sequel so that we could really appreciate this moment.
Just all of it, just soak it in, because it's funny because there's 3 kids and they're all kind of like fairly in temperament, sort of to the 3 kids. It's just Callie is a few fights from a raccoon away from that being just a total analog.
There's only one moment Bonnie and I exchanged whispers, and it was not about 50 Shades of Grey. Bonnie was looking at Mrs. Incredible and leans over and says, "I have her haircut."
Yeah.
And I leaned over and I said, "I have his gut."
Oh shit! No, I thought it was good. Obviously, I think it's one of those things where it's like, I wish it were great, but you wish every Pixar thing was great, because they have such a tremendous batting average that every once in a while it's like, oh, that was just a double. They didn't hit that one out of the park. They're still the greatest batting average of all time. It's just that this one didn't go out of the park.
Right.
Yeah, we got somebody wanting to call in. Maybe that's a good idea, because once I run out of battery, I'm not going to be able to hang around.
I'm going to assume that's a troll.
It was somebody trolling, and now someone literally trolling you. So we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, I would assume.
What was the troll? I don't know what.
They were just called the
people will go.
Name of the person was called Concerned Caller.
People will go on Twitch talk shows and ask to call in. People
got it.
And then troll. I wonder if they'll say the N-word.
Oh, got it.
So,
okay, all right.
I don't know if you ever.
It's because I recognize
the N-word rodeo, where we try to time out, like whether or not they'll get beyond 8 seconds, and then if they win, we'll send them a copy of the Luke Perry movie 8 Seconds.
I watched that movie the night before it opened. It was not a movie. This is back when just the mere fact of being able to see a movie in the the screener preview from the projectionist was a big deal, and you didn't care what the movie was. You're like, I'm seeing it before anyone else, and for free. And not bad.
8 seconds.
Yeah.
I don't remember that one at all.
Yeah, dude rode a bull, cheated on his wife.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Motherfucker.
It's based on a true story. He died.
Yeah.
He cheated on his wife with the bull. That was the twist.
Oh my god.
But he only fucked for 8 seconds, and it was a big question. Is it really cheating if it only goes for 8 seconds?
Man, I'm wondering if anybody in this park has enjoyed our show. because we've not been shy. Like, now that we're in Aftershow.
I'm going to go ahead and say no. They probably didn't. You're probably loud-ass howlies.
Yeah.
Have you guys gotten called howlies yet? That's what Native Hawaiians call the whites.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Don't worry. They're calling it behind your back.
Okay, good.
Probably. I've been called many other things in the valley.
Do you guys want to do? Let's take a look at some show titles.
We should probably say
What?
A boat sank in 2018.
A boat sank?
Look, if you want to go, you can cut loose. I'll ride out the rest of this battery.
Well, I'm just saying that we should probably.
Wait, if you want me,
Family things.
Okay,
Tell you
so
what,
you
all
want
this
me to
tension, I'm
stop
gonna
doing
send my
after
popcorn
show.
flying.
Okay, okay, all right. Here, you head out. I'll be right behind you. I'll wrap everything up.
Yo,
I can't go for more than like 5 more minutes anyway.
Oh, okay. We're fine then.
Oh, okay. Well, so okay.
You're like, I just want you.
Let's look at
Let's look
titles.
at some show titles.
A boat sank in 2018. Bravo, bravo, bravo. We were college students, so it didn't matter. Waiting in line's the game. Bravo, bravo, bravo. Washy, washy. I kind of feel
That's what
like
it's gotta be.
that's
What's
me.
that?
That's my video. Bank of America.
we
Turn that frown upside down. The beer condom.
luau attack.
Luau attack. My dick grew 3 sizes that day. Bark of America.
Fuck you, Pearl Harbor Credit Union. No.
Yeah, let's not do that
Can't
one.
do that one, Dan 33.
No.
How about Hawaii? Come on.
I'm gonna click that one. I do like that
gambling,
one,
man. Oh, you just fucking like that one, Bryce, because it sounds like something that you tweet.
It's yes, also yes.
What was the too long a reference to?
I don't know.
The episode?
No, it couldn't be. It was just one of our shortest episodes in a
Yeah,
minute.
I was about to say.
That dog looks like sneakers is a very
That
funny
dog looks like
distracting
sneakers
moment.
is right now my front
That
runner.
sounds like a mom's
It was
tweet.
so
the beginning of the
astonishingly
show
close.
too.
It was so astonishingly close that I wanted to stop and turn, but I realized I that was the distraction of me doing the calculus of like how good is the bit we're doing, how distracting would this bit be, what and then realizing that I couldn't, like, if I could just run over with a camera, I might have done that, but I didn't, and so instead
I'm glad you didn't, because where would that bit go?
I don't know. That's what you heard was me pausing too long to consider if there was anything there, deciding there was nothing there, and then realizing that there was enough dead air that I had to throw something in. So I just said the thought that was on my mind
right
in that
now,
moment.
you guys look magnificent. You guys are backlit beautifully. Like, you guys are looking gorgeous right now.
Thank you.
Oh, too long was how long you've been on vacation.
Oh yeah. Oh, too long. Oh, 2 weeks. TOO weeks.
Lava Sadness is pretty good. That's my favorite Lana Del Rey song.
I have his gut.
That just came in.
Nah.
All right,
Lots
let's
of
look.
popcorn.
No more body.
Yeah. Don't give energy to that. I like Bravo, Bravo, Bravo because you maybe think it's a theatrical performance, and then you find out it's not. It's a boat
It's
sinking.
biggest hit on Broadway. Bravo, bravo, bravo. Bravo,
It's
bravo,
the
bravo
true
for
story.
Daddy Daughter Day, and it was great. Bravo, bravo, bravo's got the best songs. The
Bravo,
hit
Bravo,
musical.
Bravo.
Bravo, 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 with songs like "There's a Fire in My Heart" and "Excursion."
It's Titanic the musical.
All right, let's do Bravo, Bravo, Bravo then.
Okay, all right. I think Bonnie is radiating energy that says we got to go do family stuff. So I'm going to bow out, gentlemen. Have a good after show.
Okay.
I can't wait to see you guys in person in real life.
Aloha.
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 All
See you guys
Bye,
later.
guys.
Bye.
All right.
Fucking finally.
Jesus Christ Almighty.
Oh my God. We're on vacation. We're having a great time. We're in
Look at
Hawaii.
me.
We're looking great. We're tan. We're beautiful.
I'm in a
We're living
park.
a fulfilled life.
They
We're
let
with
me
our
into the
family.
Yeah.
Fuck. Enough.
Yeah. Hey, we didn't do the name chant or the Twitch thing. Do you want to do something like that now?
Let's do something like that right now.
So we at least got it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna open the box. I'm gonna turn the timer on, but I'm gonna pause it.
Well, wait a minute. Do we want to do the name chant corner hour first?
Then give me another minute because then I have to hack into Brian's email
Oh.
to pick a name.
Oh, to do a thing.
To get a name, unless you also get the.
I mean, we can just pick If you're a patron, just say you are in the chat right now. It's the bootleg ass name check.
Oh, here we go. No, we got one. We got one that just came in 27 minutes ago. So that's great.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay, well,
All right. Well, folks, if you go ahead and kick into our Patreon, then you are eligible for.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Night Attack new Patreon name chant corner hour. It's an hour of it. All right, Justin.
Yeah.
This one's gonna be a fun. This is gonna be an easy chant. Sometimes we have these long chants, these weird names. You don't
It's
know how
always
to
like
pronounce them.
fuck whittle McTiddle diddle, like it's some weird name or something.
I'm Wolf Brand Chili is up my asshole. How do you? That's how did you even fit that? That's way too long.
Like is that of the Connecticut up my assholes?
It's actually pronounced aho. Like, come on. This one's easy though. This one we've got a great. He just upped their pledge from 50 cents to $1.50.
Well, I'll tell you what, folks, and that reminds you that if you have not upped your pledge, isn't it time you upped yours?
Yeah, that's right. Up yours. Just like Zach.
Zach.
What do you think Zach is doing other than watching the show?
Oh, Zach. I bet you he's a scribe.
He's writing down. He's transcribing the show.
The scribe. Zach Scribe.
Zach Scribe. Yeah, that's right. Like, comment, and Zach Scribe.
Thank you so much to Zach for being a patron. But of course, this is when I'll tell you what, we might go longer for him, more longer in a minute, because now it's just me and Bryce, and we're here to shuck and jive. So if you want to fucking give us a sub, you want to give us some bits, now's the time to do it. Hey, you want to know what? Renagoo is a real sweet boy, and I wanted to talk about the time that he ran for president.
Well, yeah, he was running with his running mate Knots on a very strong platform. Do you remember what that platform was?
Well, they were running for 5th grade student council, and W. Scott as one was their chief rival.
Yeah, of course, and you know the Benito boom crash of these two fierce political rivals really resonated throughout the school.
Yeah, the only problem was that Lonely Cat 89 was waiting in the wings to swoop in and take the whole thing.
That's right, and all of this was orchestrated by Trey Warren, of course, because he wanted to get the dead polymers into the lunch food because it was cheaper.
But the net sound of it all was not bearing well for our heroes.
Mm-hmm. The net sound have a technical term for it. It's the Thalcott. They can find the Thalcott in the politicking.
Nightbot, can Nightbot subscribe?
Yeah, Nightbot can subscribe. Of course, like it's sometimes Twitch is a mishmash. You know, it's a mishmash 215.
No, I mean, don't be a fucking narfer man about it. Just cut to the chase.
Right. You don't be such a narfer man herder. You know, you remember from that classic movie, hey, you narfer man herder.
Yeah. You know, Annie.
Yeah, from Annie. Annie, get your gun. That was the gun that Annie got.
Classic Annie line.
Yeah.
Remember, it's a hard knock live. Narfer man.
It's a narfer man life. Yeah, it's it was
should really win the minute. The minute's there for a reason.
Well, yeah, we had 1 minute. That was perfect. Thank you everybody who subscribes, gives us bits, pledges on Patreon. Thank you very much. I know it didn't make it into the show.
We do gotta figure out a way to just have we shouldn't be discouraging bit giving and subbing for the rest of the show. I feel like we could definitely figure out a way that there can be some unobtrusive way that we could recognize people with having it be during
one thing we had talked about, which I think we should try sometime, was asking people to do it all through the show, and then at some point in the show just give a real quick list of names of
you want to know what the bit thing that they've put up at the top of the chat is really cool.
The bit champ, something like that. Bit champ.
Yeah. So it's like we could always just shout out at the end of the show our top bit person or our top 3 bit people.
Yeah, and some of the subscribers.
Just encourage if people wanted to. I guess we just shouldn't be saying don't do it until 1 minute and 1 minute only.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
And then I know the past couple of weeks, people had been confused about there had been an issue with Streamlabs. I had adjusted something and it reset our minimum, but the minimum for bits is now 250 during the Twitch box, because we had a thing where people would bit like 5 bits or something, and it would pop up, and when there's only a minute, that kind of pushes.
Yeah,
other
I would
stuff
say
around.
let's save the bit recognition for the end of the show. If you really want to do it, then hey, look, you can spend $4 and get a shout out at the end of the show, right? Or in the middle of the show, whatever we want to. I guess it should probably be the end of the show if we want to encourage it.
Yeah. So apparently, Jury, you won the belt tonight. I actually don't know.
What was the belt?
We're gonna look. It says Belt Classic. If someone swears, they get the belt. We are going old
Oh
school.
shit!
Boom. Well, there you go.
Stop letting the audience.
Stop lighting the audience. Justin, only one fake coin was pledged to you, so congrats to whoever bet on you. There you go. Check that out.
Yeah, that was bad betting. You should have bet on me because I'm gonna. Whenever Brian's
curse.
on the road, I got to do more of the heavy lifting of like.
Mhm.
It's really just me interviewing Brian and Bonnie, so I'm gonna be doing a lot more of the like. And set it up, and no, we're doing a thing, and boo. Hey, Bryce, are you ready to get to episode 2
Episode 2
of the most popular podcast on the internet?
Sure, video games. That's
Of
right.
Video games
You wanna do video
with Tony B. Casty.
Yeah, let me find that music for it. I had a sound drop, or not a sound drop, but I had.
People really want to know about these video games, man. We really got to figure them out.
I got some thoughts on video games, so that'll work out perfect. Where's my thing? Where's my intros playlist? I have a whole playlist of good intro songs. Oh no, you son of a bitch! This is great. This is great.
Dude, I'll tell you what. It's not just me sucking not only my own dick, but also Brian and Bryce's. But like that 3-hour fucking thing, I listened to a good hour and a half of it. And I lived it. Like, I have no normal desire to listen back to our shows, but I was curious about how this came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to see if I said anything horrifying in the 45 minutes before I realized that the things were recording.
I swear, I joked about it, but you definitely were fine. Because you were playing, because the Alex Jones bit was before that. And so I thought, he's definitely playing, because Brian was like, oh yeah, I was kind of on for that whole trip.
Yeah.
Because I knew, we were being recorded. So I kind of figured, oh, well, I couldn't tell if like you not noticing was a bit.
Also, number one, the biggest thing I realized when I realized how early you started recording
was
I thought you started recording when I found out that you were recording. I thought you had started like when we got on the highway. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I'm like, was I really mean? Because I was actually a true fucking story. I was annoyed that Brian jumped out of the fucking car at the Del Taco line because like navigating around San Diego when you've just like fucking partied until like 2 o'clock in the morning the night before, like it was frustrating to be the driver and Brian to just jump out. And I'm like, did I talk like wild shit about Brian? Like just like Bryce and Gerbs like talking shit about Brian?
Yeah,
like,
no, that stuff ended up fine. Actually, even before, that audio clip that we put out, or the recording that we put out, starts with me, saying, okay, we're going to be on the record now. But I definitely had like the 20 minutes where we were literally gossiping and shit talking before, just so I could like test it and make sure it was on. Yeah, but you were.
It was good, but I listened back to it. It was some funny shit. So everybody go and sub up to the Pat if you have not. But all right, here we go. Episode 2. Y'all have been asking for it. Now you're gonna get it. Here is episode 2 of video games.
It is June 26, 2018. That means it's time for episode 2 of the perennial, your favorite, most earth-shattering podcast on the universe.
Yeah.
Video Games with Bryce. I'm Bryce. That's Justin. Justin.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, man? It's good to be here. We got a lot of great feedback on the first episode of Video Games, and I'm pumped to be back.
Yeah, man. It's a good time for video games. You know, we're on the other side of E3.
Yeah, so hit me to this. E3 in general, like, is this kind of just where, like, this is like the promise of the new harvest, right? And so now at this point, we're just waiting for things that were either announced at this E3 or E3s previously to come out, like to get release dates. Because a lot of the shit that gets announced at E3 is like, oh my God, watch this crazy shit that's happening. Now, literally wait for 1,000,000 years. Or like, there's no, maybe it'll come out. I don't know. We just really didn't want you to throw tomatoes at us.
Well, and you know what? This year is a continued shift. I feel like that idea of like, we're going to announce something and it's not going to be 2 or 3 years until you see this thing again was more indicative of E3 from, say, 5, 6, 7 years ago. You know, part of E3 opening up as a physical show to the consumer and to the public has meant that game developers, or mostly publishers and platform holders, want to focus on things that are coming right up. You know, if you look at the list of games that were announced or talked about, a lot of that stuff was the rest of this year or very early next year. And that is because we've seen a shift in games coverage, in that developers, publishers, platform holders all have social media accounts. They can all announce stuff whenever they'd like. They don't need to go to IGN and say, hey, run our trailer. They don't need to go to Game Informer and say, hey, we need to get a magazine cover, or we need to be in the magazine to announce something.
Yeah.
And so you have that, plus the fact that all the platform holders have multiple conferences every year. You know, you have PlayStation that does the PSX, which is near the end of the year, near the Game Awards. You have the Game Awards, which is all about trailers and announcements. Xbox does, I feel like Xbox does another show throughout the year. Nintendo does those directs 4, 5, 6 times a year. And so E3 is still like the big, you know, crown jewel, but it's not the only game in town.
So like Nintendo doesn't even send anybody, right? They just play a video, or they just like post a video.
Yeah, they put up they live stream their Nintendo Direct, which is a produced video, which is very similar to what some of the other E3 conferences have been, especially last year. Last year was like lousy with conferences, physical conferences on stages that were basically video playlists, you know.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Because what we've seen in music is hold on.
It's an edit point.
As things have gotten more digitally, like, creator to end user.
To consumer,
right?
Yeah.
The element of surprise has become more of a thing. Like, we are seeing now, like, just in the last month, basically, like, Kanye shows up on Twitter, says there's 4 albums coming out in a 4-week period. In the midst of that, Jay-Z and Beyonce release an album. And now, if it weren't for the fact that at the beginning of this surprise thing with the Kanye album, the first one is Pusha T, who shits on Drake. Like, Drake was planning on being like, all right, no, in 3 weeks from my album, I'm going to say that I have an album, and then I'll release that album.
Yeah.
How far are we from video games being like, or from one of these studios, these big name studios like a Bethesda or a Rockstar or something like that, just saying, no, Red Dead Redemption next week. Red Dead Redemption right now.
You know what a lot of it is those games are too big to hide. I think with the creation engine of music, especially at those top tiers of high-end artists, Kanye's and Beyonce's and Drake's, that's still not too many people you need to keep in the dark. You can mostly tell people, hey, we need to keep this quiet. we need to keep it quiet for a long time,
No,
and we're
but
going to
even
drop
then,
it.
it's like, Spin Dash and you're saying leaks, but it's like
Mhm.
people knew that Kanye was flying people out to Wyoming and that there was, that it was close. If you really gave a fuck,
Mhm.
there were enough places that were saying, hey, it looks like they're working on something. There's enough people posting on Snapchat and Instagram that they're out recording new stuff with all these artists. The Jay-Z Beyonce thing was totally locked down, but they're like next level, like to the
Right.
point where I think that they staged that fucking elevator shit, but that's a whole nother podcast. That's music stories,
That's
music conspiracy
Music with Justin.
with Jussie McJerbface. But this is I do wonder whether or not, even if it's an open secret,
Mhm.
like even the idea that like that Naughty Dog is tight-lipped, but Last of Us is coming out tomorrow, that almost seems like more of an exciting thing, except for one element: pre-sales.
Right. Yes. And that's such a huge thing because a lot of game sales is still physical, right? If you're a musician, most everyone who's even going to buy your album is going to buy it digitally. Physical CD sales are tanked all over the world.
Yeah, they're non-existent at this point. They're an aftershot.
Where you have the GameStops of the world who are, have these close relationships to publishers and the platform holders, where if you run around GameStop or don't give GameStop the ability to make pre-sales and gauge how much inventory they should order and how much should be manufactured, if we cut that out of the industry, I think you could see more of that. But right now, these games are such huge to-dos that it's really hard. I think keeping it under wraps is a part of it, but you're right that there is sort of an open secret element of it. There were.
Well, I guess the closest you would get then, the closer allegory would be the movie industry, where nothing is a surprise,
Yeah.
right? And probably biggest surprise in modern history, theatrically, would be Cloverfield. The 10 Cloverfield Lane, rather. The Dan Trachtenberg one, where it was like they knew there was a bad robot. There's like few people that are as powerful in Hollywood as J.J. Abrams. J.J. Abrams says, hey, I got a tiny shitty movie coming out. And they're like, okay, cool. We're going to run it in these things, in this amount of theaters, this footprint. But it's big enough that it matters. And then J.J. Abrams, 3 months before,
says it's a Cloverfield sequel.
Trailer, and it's like, it's a Cloverfield sequel, motherfuckers. And everyone's like, that's crazy.
Yeah, you really, if you think about, the gaming industry doesn't have many of those surprises either. I think if you look at, say, Frog Fractions 2, which was an actual open secret within the games coverage community, where a lot of times they will go to see big name games and voluntarily undergo embargoes. We won't talk about it until X day. We won't do whatever, which is common in movies. But something like Frog Fractions 2 was like, hey, we are happy to talk to you before it is found out. We're happy to whatever, you can do this, but if you could just please not ruin the surprise. Right?
Yeah.
The idea of okay, at some point, someone will find out that this game has already been out for 2 weeks. Once people know that game is out, then is a good time to put out all this coverage. Because once people knew it was, Glittermint and Grove, every site ran their interview, every site ran their coverage, their gameplay footage as a very communal secret. And I don't know that you will get a large-scale publisher, that would feel okay doing that. You also have the reviews element of games coverage, which plays into sales, right? The idea of X number of outlets need to get it early or should get it early so that they can say that the game is good or whatever, hopefully good. And then that will lead consumers to say,
all right. So then let me ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a studio and a title that has a big enough dick that they would be able to do it. That they are that J.J. Abrams where it's like, and maybe I'll even give you a derivative of a title, right? So it's not GTA, it's GTA Stories. Skinny Philippe robs a convenience store or something, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever you want, but just give me someone that has the clout to say, fuck the GameStops of the world, fuck physical stuff. They're gonna get it as soon as they can, right? But we are going to announce at the razor's edge of how fast we can ship all this shit to everybody, because we know it's gonna sell, and we want to be that panic. Because I think somebody is going to do it. It's just where all media is going.
So the other sort of surprise moment that you mentioned, similar to 10 Cloverfield Lane, was literally what happened with Metal Gear Solid 2 back in 2001, 2002. That was a game that had been previewed as, okay, this is the sequel. This is a next-gen sequel to this huge stealth game, very cinematic. Solid Snake is back. He's on a ship. There's a bridge. There's rain. There's all this huge stuff. And it turned out that all of the pre-release material before the game was launched was the first hour of the game, at which point you are a totally different character in a totally different place doing something completely different. And while the director of that game, Hideo Kojima, is no longer at Konami, he has a new studio and is working. I would say Hideo.
What's he doing with the baby throat?
There are theories. Of why that dude has a baby in a throat.
Yeah.
I think the idea is that...
I hope it's Earthworm Jim.
Well, okay, the quick theory on that is that I think the bad guys in that game can accelerate time. And so if you die to those guys, your baby would inadvertently grow up to be a adult who could carry on your job. I would like to think Hideo Kojima is someone who could do that, but also he's been doing so much pre-release stuff for Death Stranding that's very difficult. That kind of clashes with what I'm saying. I think you have someone like EA who could do that with a smaller title. We've seen that a lot with smaller indie titles being like, hey, we're going to announce this game. It's going to come out in like a week or two. Sony's indie
then give me
done that.
And I'm gonna hold your feet to the fire on this. Just give me either a big studio that could take a big franchise and shave it off a little bit, or do a full sequel that they can release very close, or as big as indie gets, doing a one-off, no, this is the, I guess, because that would be more, that'd be less the like Kanye's and Jay-Z's, and more the like, I don't know, and I'm so out of it that I can't even make a like SoundCloud rapper an appropriate. Really, the only like person that like the SoundCloud rapper is the kid that died. That I only know because I listened to his music after he died, and he died like literally blocks away from where I went to a wedding 3 months ago. Because he's a South Florida kid, but. R.I.P. XXX.
A big company that could do that with a big title. That's... Man. And you know why I'm having trouble with this is because as the bigger franchises get, the more iterative and regular they become, right? You can't surprise people with it because it's coming out every year or every other year. I could see...
People are saying Bethesda, Valve, and Telltale.
So my issues with that is that Telltale... I could see Telltale doing that. Telltale's a little smaller, but I think maybe within the ballpark of what we're talking about. Bethesda is very big on the pre-release cycle, and I don't know that they would give us a surprise immediately. Valve
No, this is my question.
Okay.
Not will they, but who could?
Who could?
Who could? Like, who swings a big enough dick that they can tell GameStop to go fuck themselves? Because GameStop will always wind up coming back to them because they're gonna want that next. That like they're always gonna want that new.
Yeah.
But they're adventurous enough that they would maybe with something that is like a step down a little bit, a third, a third place kind of thing could just be like 2 weeks, get it now, go.
JC Calhoun has a good idea that it could be Gearbox. Gearbox has a lot of sort of out there development and a lot out there sort of projects that I could see them flying under the radar for a very long time and saying, okay, you know what, Borderlands 3 is done, it's out, and go and get it now digitally.
Yeah.
I could see that as a way to shake things up, especially with Borderlands, which has been pretty dormant since personnel changes. Some of the ideas in the chat, Nintendo could maybe do that. But I think Nintendo is very tied to having a physical and a digital market. So I think that's tough. Rockstar plays by their own rules, and part of their
by
rules.
the way, I don't know what the Japanese music scene looks like, but I do not believe that any of the Japanese companies will be doing shit like this anytime soon. Like that is a fairly regimented, business-minded kind of solution that is less likely to be like, hey, let's fuck with our supply lines for attention.
Right. Well, especially when, Nintendo, if you look at with the Switch and the Nintendo 3DS where they have custom hardware, or they're making cartridges for all of their games now, that's a huge process. It would have to be a very tiny game, a very tiny digital-only game to really fly like that for them.
Because the thing is, I think you're right that this is really about retail.
Mm-hmm.
This is about getting shit to brick and mortar stores and having them not be pissed off. But I do think that we are at a tipping point, much like the movie industry is, where the studios, although they make so much of their money on these retail things, the money is getting better and better for not only these subscription models, but also like these digital offerings that like, now it's like, it's not that there's ever going to be a point within the next 10 years, unless these companies start collapsing, like the GameStops of the world start collapsing, that they're going to out and out say, fuck GameStop, like, and fuck all these places. We're not going to deal with you.
Right.
But would it be worth trying to fuck with them? Like, or just do a thing that they're not pleased with for like being the panic, because nothing happens by surprise in the video game world, right?
You know what I would say is probably the closest to that, and we actually saw a lot of it this E3 and around E3, the idea of publisher-based subscription services. So Microsoft has had Game Pass for a little while, where you subscribe and you get access to unlimited time with a rotating list. Sony has the PlayStation Now subscription service, which they announced is getting an offline mode, so you would be able to download games and play them offline in a very similar service.
Is it Halo? Is it Bungie with Halo, where they're able to say like, oh, look, that you want to buy that Microsoft Game Pass? New Halo right now. Go get that shit.
You know what? I actually really could see that. And Microsoft has said, our first party titles are going into Game Pass, and they're staying in Game Pass, and they're going to be day and date. That's what happened with the Pirates game that just came out, that Rare made. Someone's going to know it, but it was, the online multiplayer only pirate game, Sea of Thieves. That's right. And, Microsoft came back and said, we sold a lot more copies of Sea of Thieves than we thought we did. And that was a game that we put on Game Pass during a huge sale for Game Pass. And we still got more sales than we expected, even if Game Pass was not a part of it. So I think things like that will be the next thing. EA has EA Access, which is a similar thing. You get older titles. And at E3, they announced we're doing EA Access Premier, which is like, I don't know, $80 a year or something. And you get the new NFL. You get all of their sports games right when they come out. And for these companies, if you're a customer of EA and you only buy one sports game a year when it comes out, you could be convinced into paying $80 a year.
Well, look,
for all these things.
Here's the thing, and I know that I'm a everything at some point comes back to pro wrestling with me, but like, the fact of the matter is that if you look at as technology has unfolded, there are two leading indicators: pornography and pro wrestling. and pro wrestling was a forebearer to cable. They were a forebearer to the internet.
Yeah.
They're forebearer to the subscription model. And what the WWE did, which was smart, was when they launched their subscription service, despite the fact that I think that there are really compelling cases to say that it was financially injurious to them, that they hurt themselves by doing this. They said, all of our pay-per-views that you're all used to paying $40 a month and then $60 for our big one for the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, it's all $99 a month right now.
Yeah.
Get in right now. You make that bargain so ridiculous that it's like, I can't help but do it. And now all of a sudden you jumpstart that in a big way. And I'll tell you what, you really opened up, I think, where I think this will happen. It's going to be with one of those subscription passes where now that Microsoft, it's not Microsoft saying, are we going to fuck with our relationship with the GameStops of the world? It's Microsoft saying, no. We can reliably say, if on our Twitter account, it's just Halo's available, new Halo, go get it.
And it's on Game Pass.
It's the talk of the games world. Now all these, because I'll tell you what, as much as the gaming industry press, and I don't really, I mean, I know a few people, I guess, that kind of work in it, but I am going to take a wild guess, that they are a bit of an entitled bunch because things are so regimented. Like, and not to say that they are fussy or they are diva-esque, but that things have gone a certain way for so long that if you don't get something, it's a different thing. I almost think that it would be exciting for everybody. Like, now all of a sudden the world's turned upside down. There are no pre-review copies of it. Like, everybody's playing this shit for the first time. If you feel confident that this game is good, it would be amazing. I mean, it would be a solid 72 hours where you would own the gaming news cycle.
Yeah. Well, and we've seen over the past 2 years this exact same thing happen with the advent of social media influencers and live streamers, right? You have Bethesda, who came out and said, we're really not going to give out pre-release codes to the game's press, game's coverage. We're going to give it out to influencers, and they're going to go play our games on Twitch, and they're going to feel very grateful, and they're going to say great things about it because they got it for free, and they have to disclose that we gave it to them, and that's going to be enough.
And they know that if they don't, then there is a good possibility that they won't get a gaming pass next time.
Right, because that's a commodity, right? There are a million Twitch streamers who can string two sentences together and have a snowball, right? You don't have to tread lightly with them versus an IGN or a GameSpot. And so you already had the Games Press, who are having to adjust the way that their coverage and their content output looks, continuing to go into a personality-based system, continuing to go outside of like trying to get on top of the hottest new games, but rather like, hey, when the game comes out, we're going to stream it, or do impressions, talk about stuff in podcasts, talk about stuff from, previews when they get a chance to see them. That type of coverage is going to change, and it's already started, and I think it will continue as, publishers realize that they can control the narrative more, and they have many more options to put things out, and larger gaming publications will find that they need to change what their basis is. There will still be a cottage industry for reviews. People will still want to know what the number is on the new Halo game, but in terms of sustainable, long-term, everyday content, it will go into more general entertainment, which you've seen. It would go into more opinion editorial pieces. Hopefully, it will continue to go into more and more higher-level critical thinking and criticism of games development, games publishers, statements, messaging of the games, and I think that's something that I've really enjoyed seeing in the past, year or so. And So Open Bayou says, is Giant Bomb a good example of game press changing to the times? I think it was. I kind of think a lot of games outlets will turn into a Giant Bomb like thing if they can get the personalities. But so much of games coverage has been, we need warm bodies to write up about this game, and not really chemistry or personalities or.
So, do me a favor. Sure. Explain that. Why is Giant Bomb a good example of gaming press changing to the times?
So Giant Bomb very rarely does reviews. They may do 2 or 3 reviews a year, where they write down a long written article about a video game and give it a number. Most of their output is something called Quick Looks, where they talk about a game that is already out, usually with an editor who's already played a little bit of a game, and probably someone else to ask questions and sort of suss out the idea. And also the idea that Giant Bomb, pretty much everyone who works at Giant Bomb is a personality on the site and is in video series or is providing editorial service. They write almost no articles outside of those handful of reviews a year. They do 2 podcasts a week, 2 very long podcasts a week, where they just talk about the games that they're playing. And they don't really chase big games. They cover the games that they want to cover. And as a result, they're very personality-based, and they have a large following for that specific type of coverage. Where they have this, they're on subscription model. You look at any other publication, none of them have a subscription service. None of them have a $60 a year premium offering. But that is what Giant Bomb has been doing for the past for years now. It's pretty much since it started. And I think a lot of, I would say a non-zero number of other publications would want to be like that in terms of not needing to be tied to the hottest new thing, the exclusive, or written articles, or whatever,
But that's hard. I mean, that's difficult. Giant Bomb doesn't sound like a website. They sound like a band. And it is hard to put together a band. It's much harder to put together a band that you can make financially viable than it is to put together a website. Because a website, you can just find, look, go to whatever Reddit, find out who's making all the cool comments, say, hey, would you like to write? You pay them X amount of money, and you do it. And bing, bada, boom. Everybody's replaceable.
And there's an element of like a blog, the blog economics. You know a little bit about the economics of a content engine for written content, and on some level, you kind of need someone who can write well, or if not, someone who can come up with a good idea and a good copy editor, and you scale that up enough, and the ad views make sense at some point. But as more and more people turn to video and live video for how they experience games and how they get informed about the games that they like or could like, may possibly like, are new, those written pieces and those written sites are separate wings from these new video wings that are having to be created. And that's a shifting sands. And I think there are plenty of really good personalities out there who can and do successfully either strike that balance or have made that transition / shift, but it's very big. There are still many more ships to turn, because publishers are not going to become. I don't think you could have 1 million PewDiePies this year, and I don't think you're going to get publishers afraid.
And you would
of
have
social
1.5 million N-words.
So it really has changed very fast in the past 5 years, especially if you're paying attention to games coverage, because of this, because of publishers.
Well, I'll tell you what, somebody that I've kind of had in my peripheral vision for a while was the kind of funny guys, and they're like, it seems like, they talk about video games, and video games are kind of the starting point, but most of that is like what you said with Giant Bomb. It's about these personalities. And even when you have, one of them split off, like you had with the one dude.
Right, Greg.
It's just as much about, like, people are just there for him. Mm-hmm. That dude mostly just talks about fucking politics now.
Yeah.
And tweets out long form immigration policies, and people are like, yes, including like my friends. One of my best goddamn friends from high school will talk to this motherfucker on Twitter and won't like listen to like what his best friend does for a living. Like what I do for a living and what that motherfucker does for a living are almost identical. And yet I'll fucking see like, hey, great point, dude. And I'm like, where's that? Fuck, keep that same energy for your boy.
Yeah. And it's changed. It's changed. And I think, you know, the idea of and maybe I think I don't have better words for this, but the idea of people in the games coverage industry trying to become more personable, right? Streaming more and becoming directly connected to the audience, where you know a written piece is not necessarily that.
Well, how much do you also think that there is, for whatever reason, video games kind of became this front of the culture war?
Okay.
Like that's part of it. That all of a sudden, as soon as video games became about, well, all right, there's, for whatever reason, and I think that you can slice this deli ham as thin as you want, like, is it about the kind of people who play games? Is it about the games themselves? Is it about just a unique relationship between audience, creator, and press that is there? But for whatever reason, when people started talking about video games, they started talking about a lot more than video games and the discourse around video games. If you look at here, I guess here's my larger point.
Sure.
If you look at our current discourse on politics, it looks a lot like what our current discourse, or our previous discourse 5 years ago was about video games.
Yeah, it was. And I think that's maybe not exactly a coincidence, but I don't know what caused it, whether, you know, video games are the largest entertainment industry now, right? More than movies, more than TV, books, easily they are. And so I think it's something where it's scaled so much that it's impossible not to be the biggest thing, right? It is in the interests of so many people to, you know about this thing that they like, and that is all the opportunities to come up with an opinion. This is a little bit what we talked about last time on video games, which was about what is it about the internet today is making everyone seemingly go crazy. And, you know, it's
What, by the way, continues to happen.
Continues. Yeah, it kind of didn't get any better in the past month.
I will be honest with you. There have been moments over the past 2 weeks where I have questioned how wise it was for me. Like I've always, you know, Scott Johnson likes to call me kind of a chaos agent. That like I like it when everybody's yelling at each other.
Yeah, I can see
over
that.
the past 2 weeks, I have questioned about how wise of a decision it was for me to get into politics coverage, because like there is yelling and screaming. And previous to this, to bring it back to our central point, I've looked at what's happened in video games coverage, and I'm like, I'm always so much more comfortable talking about demographics and voting and getting out the vote and all these things than I am arguing about whether or not, you know, Crash Bandicoot is a good game and what it says about your position on, you know, feminism or not. Right? Like that to me seems like something that is a jungle for which has no rules and will always be a knife fight to the death. Whereas at the very least, I feel like I personally have enough of a handle on how politics goes that I can say, yes, but let's focus on these simple, politically scientific elements that are beyond dispute.
You know what I think it is that I don't know if this, I would hypothesize that it is because it is the most modern new industry, entertainment industry, video games is, that its creators and its developers and its publishers and platform holders are more socially connected to the populace than TV, then movies, then books,
Yeah.
right? You couldn't yell at Dick Van Dyke that you didn't think he was funny.
Hey, way to trip on the ottoman, you cuck!
You couldn't do that. Or if you did it in your living room and
Somebody did. Somebody threw a Schlitz at the fucking at the TV set, at the rabbit ears, as the dribbles of Miller spilled onto the doily under the television.
And so I think partially by being more modern, we are much more connected to the hands of the industry. And because it is so big, the scale of it is so large, and that we have so much dedication, especially in the largest franchises, in your Call of Duties, in your Halos, in whatever you want it, that we have seen, you know what it is we have seen franchises go bad. I think that's part of it, is that we have seen franchises that are very invested in go bad. I just, they did the Summer Games Done Quick is going on right now, and last night I ended up tuning in when this great runner, she was playing Tomb Raider, came on, and I was like, oh my god, I fucking forgot Tomb Raider had this really cool look and a very specific, very cool aesthetic. And I ended up going down a rabbit hole into like, how do you make Tomb Raider? How did Tomb Raider get made? And I ended up reading the history of Core, the development team that made it. And you look at their history, and they sort of lucked into, I'm not going to say lucked, but things aligned right that Tomb Raider ended up being this huge game, more than Eidos ever expected. And so they made Tomb Raider 2, 8 months later. And at that point, the creator had left, but you still have the team there. And then they go and make Tomb Raider 3, and they're like, they also made that in 8 months. And you get the sense that like they weren't really proud of Tomb Raider 3, but they came out with it and it was done. And then they go into the next generation of hardware. They keep trying to change things, add new things, are unable to, keep up with the demands that new feature sets, new hardware require. And after a while, when the cash cow runs dry, Eidos took Tomb Raider away from Core and gave it to Crystal Dynamics to say, hey, you're going to make the next Tomb Raider. And if you are someone who really loves the big game, Tomb Raider 1, and by the time Tomb Raider 4 comes out and it's different and maybe it's worse, you think, oh, I've seen this franchise fail before.
Yeah.
Can I do anything to try to make this better? Is there a larger conversation that can be had here? And I don't think it's as specific as that, but
because I also think that there's a price humiliation with video games that like
because
when
the buy-in
you
is
are
so high.
Yeah, when you are made the fool, it's worse than almost anything other than books. Like back in the Barnes and Nobles, Borders heyday, would you pay fucking $40, $50 for a hardback? You'd go within a second of it releasing or a week of it releasing, go spend that amount of money, and then at the end be like, what the fuck? It was a spider all along? Fuck you, Stephen King. Like you'd be made a fool for it. And that would be very, very frustrating. And video games, I think, is the same way, where it's like there's some people who can read faster. I guess there's some people who can certainly play faster. But even then, there's hardware restrictions, specifically up until, even now, like loading times of, as hardware has gotten better, yes, so have graphics, but loading times have almost gotten worse as we've gone along throughout history.
Yeah, that kind of depends a little bit, but yeah, I can see that.
Whenever I see somebody play a game, there's always a lot more fucking loading time. Like there's as much loading time as I remember there being loading time back in the day. Real quick, very funny Summer Games Done Quick tweet.
Sure.
This is from Kyle Pulver. My buddy Tim tweeted this or retweeted this. The venue for Summer Games Done Quick is only accessible via a wrong warp. Attendees must turn on every fan in their house, start a microwave, run all faucets with hot water, then go to sleep. If they wake up on the same frame the microwave timer finishes, they should end up in a room at Summer Games Done Quick.
That's good. You're right. Like the buy-in, both in terms of time and money, are so high. And
Yeah.
right now we have AAA publishers talking about, what if we raised prices on video games again? What if we went above $60? This is on top of the fact that they already sell deluxe versions or pre-order bonus versions.
What? I
high-end
feel
versions. Digital deluxe versions is the new thing that is kind of making me go crazy. Like, you go in the Nintendo shop, and when you see, oh, I can get NBA 2K7 for $99, what is it about NBA 2K17 that I would spend $100 on for a digital gold version? That the WWE games are like that, the 2K games. It's crazy. And as publishers try to monetize gamers more and more beyond the initial purchase, it's going to be, it's not that as a contributing factor to the discourse is not going to make it better.
But you want to know what? I feel like we just hit on it. I feel like this is why video games are this cultural Bermuda's Triangle, right? I don't know why I put a possessive on Bermuda's, but
Bermuda's is.
Yeah, just the Bermuda Triangle. That it is a nexus of economics, culture, maligned culture, by the way, because that is a huge part of it, is everybody feels like they're the underdog in video games, whether or not they are.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the third part is. I was hoping to really land it with the third part, but really I think it's just it's malign culture plus price. I think it's infrequency. That
Yes.
it's not like a new awesome video game comes out every week in the way that movies does.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and especially again in franchise, right? Like movies, big name movies can take 2 years, right? These Marvel movies take about 2 years or so to do, though I think those pipelines will probably could get shorter over time as they throw more money and people at these things. But you know, if you have a movie that could be done in about a year or 2 years, compared to video games now, which are getting longer and longer development cycles as the hardware gets higher end, and we start building for another new generation of consoles, you will have plenty of time between games to like decide what the next game should be and why the next game shouldn't change 3 years from now.
And by the way, this is also, I think, the reason why the PC game scene is as hopping as it is and became as hopping as it is in the last 5 years is that, hey, look, there's a lot of downtime between all the games that everybody talks about.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of developers that are like, 2-3 people that are cranking out something that's really awesome that like can fill a lot of that dead time. If you can literally just crush a Friday, Saturday, Sunday for somebody for $10, for $20, like that's worth it.
Yeah, the indie development scene, as that scene has been able to get more sophisticated tools and create games much faster, better.
Yeah. And by the way, Daniel J. Newen.
Yeah.
Is what if you make a game like Blizzard where you can make money for years with the same game instead of trying to sell a new box every 12 months? Do me a favor, Bryce. If you can look this up.
Okay.
I saw this statistic and it blew my fucking ass out of my chair. God damn it. I can't remember the game that fucking led it, but it was basically the top grossing games month to month.
Sure.
And there was one game, and it's going to slap me in the face, but it was all the Clash of Clans and the Pokemon Goes, but it's like, and the leagues, but it's like, when you look at what these fucking free-to-play games do, then you will realize, when you see these numbers, why fucking everybody is skinning, like why there's a million for every, like, sword battle. There's like knife battle and spoon fight and everything. That they reskin this shit over and over and over and over and over. It's Fortnite, yes. It was what Fortnite made.
Yeah, I mean, let me see. We've got
$300 motherfucking million in the month of May.
so we have thinkgaming.com, which has the top grossing iPhone games. This month, is this month or day? Group by month. We'll go to month. Oh, you're gonna make me subscribe to do that, huh? Because this would tell. What? Are you fucking kidding me? You just showed it to me. Fortnite price free revenue $1.73 million. New installs 11,000. 11,000 makes me think that this is either the week or the day.
No, it's daily. I mean, I guess this is their parsed out estimated daily, right?
I guess so. That's what it says.
Candy Crush made $1 million, 1.2 million. Pokemon made a cool $1 million. Clash made about $500,000. So did Roblox.
Golf Clash, Toon Blast, Candy Crush, Soda Saga. Yeah, man. Like, there is money in Darden Hills.
A day, motherfuckers.
Yeah. And some of it's kids, some of it's... these are... I look at the mobile stuff, and I don't get... I don't turn into Chicken Little when I see it. Partially because I think these are just audiences that were not served, that were not being served, right? The idea of like, oh, well, if you want to play games, you need a new thing that just plays games. You need a console. You need a computer.
It's like, look, the
people don't have that.
I played games again because Hearthstone was available on the iPad and my phone.
Yeah, ubiquity.
I was a lapsed gamer. I was a Game Pro subscriber, a Nintendo Power subscriber when I was a kid. That lapsed out of it because I wanted to focus on different things in my life.
Yeah.
But I also like to not be bored when I'm waiting for a fucking flight. I like to not be bored when I'm done with this thing that I'm doing, and I'd rather play a little thing that I can get obsessed with. And so it's like mobile gaming to me is what brought... Mobile gaming is gaming to me, and I don't consider myself... I mean, I am certainly not a hardcore gamer by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah. I am a co-host on Video Games TM with Tony B. Casty, so, you know...
You know, had you played Fortnite yet?
No.
Oh, okay. Ooh, okay.
But I Fortnite. I actually think I might though. I have an idea that I don't want to talk about publicly, but I'll let you know when we shut down the stream.
I've been spending time with Fortnite. Right, Fortnite came out on the Switch, and I downloaded it because it was free, and I tried it out. And I thought, okay, this was not terrible. I did not have a good time with it because I was playing on a controller, but that made me go onto my computer and download it. And I am looking at that game. I am thinking about that game. That game's buy-in ask is $10 for what they call the Battle Pass. If you don't know how the Battle Pass works, every season, which I think for them is 3 months, you get it. There's a new Battle Pass, and you pay $10 worth of currency to be in it. And as you level up in the game, you level up the Battle Pass. And as you get further in the Battle Pass, you get challenges, which make it easier and faster for you to get through the Battle Pass. And you get experience boosts. And if you play the Battle Pass enough, you will earn enough currency to buy the next season's Battle Pass.
Gotcha.
Right? If you get to level 72 or something, in this 70 range, you will have earned enough V-Bucks to get the next Battle Pass. So if you are playing the game, your buy-in could be as low as $10 if you even care about that
forever. Yeah.
And they and everyone in, well, not everyone, I'm not going to make it sound like this, but it is very clear with just a little scratching that the fun way to play Fortnite is with the Battle Pass, because the challenges give you something to do rather than just dying over and over again.
Gotcha.
And
you can run around like a chicken with your head cut off, but you're clearing out your personal.
Right. You know what? I landed in Tomato Town 3 times. So that's a challenge knocked out for me. Woo! And
that's one of those things where, like, I get it that the PUBG people are salty as fuck at Fortnite to the point of suing them.
Uh-huh.
But it's like, man, there's a lot of Snapchat versus Instagram stories with that. And it's like, tell you what, as Snapchat is right that Instagram stories just straight ripped their shit off. But guess what they also did? Evolved it and made it a better product.
Yeah.
And like that's what it feels like. Because I liked PUBG. Hell, we wrote that PUBG thing because me and John were really obsessed with it for a little bit for Mono Rogue, and it was a great thing. Yeah. I really liked that idea. I thought it was fun, but I didn't really want to go back and play it once I'd kind of grokked it.
Yeah.
And Fortnite has captured, not only did it capture the youth audience because it looks like a cartoon more than like a fairly realistic, soldier of fortune commando knifing somebody. If like, mom walks in and that's happening, you're like, what the fuck? Turn that shit off. Yeah. I don't want to make you some sort of militaristic kill machine.
Where Fortnite simplifies that. They have a shorter map, so you get to play faster. You get in fights faster. Your rounds go faster. And the building mechanic is an interesting high-level play element in that, like, if you've ever watched the end of Fortnite, like, when you play Battlegrounds, you're watching gunplay, right? Everyone who is at the end of the game is very good with those guns and aims very well. When you are at the end of a Fortnite match, those people are making towers in seconds. They're jumping up, making walls, making staircases, floors, and it's this very aerial, high level or next level sort of gameplay element that goes into overdrive. And so they're also, not only are they kind of making the games faster, but they are also raising the ceiling on expertise, the ability to be expert at the game. And so someone who has spent a little bit of time playing with it, I now am at my conundrum with Fortnite is not should I play it or should I not play it? It's will I spend $10 with it?
Yeah.
Or not? And will I play enough of it to need to spend $10 again 3 months from now? And that's a conversation if you make a long-running game, if you make a Overwatch, if you make a Fortnite, if you make a Candy Crush. If you like Candy Crush Saga, the Candy Crush Saga on this list, Justin, is the Candy Crush game that came out fucking 12 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not like they keep making new they have that Soda Saga. There's a second official Candy Crush game, but like Angry Birds, like the big Angry Birds game is Angry Birds 2, which came out like a million years ago.
Ever ago. Yeah.
And
hey, real quick.
Sure.
I'm going to ask you a one-word question, and then we're getting to a new segment that we're debuting here on video games.
Oh,
but a one-word answer. Is Bethesda right that Fallout Shelter was totally ripped off by Westworld?
One word.
One word. That's all you get.
No.
Looks pretty clear from old Derbs' vantage point, having not played either of them. You look at those animations and you look at that lead time and you're like, I'm gonna bet you most of that code was fucking reused.
I can't vouch for the code thing. That's my thing, is I can't vouch for the code thing. I've played both games. I've spent a lot of time playing both games.
Yeah.
And part of Bethesda's thing, so it's two-pronged, right? They say you stole our code and you made a game identical to ours. Well, I can't talk to the first one. I have no idea if these are the same games. They look very similar. The engines are very similar, but I don't know the extent that Behave is allowed to own whatever engine they made for Fallout Shelter. The idea of like...
I think that's the biggest thing, is that when I read that lawsuit, I was like, well, you want to know what? I think what they're saying is that Bethesda believes they made an agreement with that developer that they would own the code once they agreed to do it. It seems like that developer has a different belief of who owns that code base, and they believe that they can skin it however many ways that they want, and that's what will be sussed out in court.
And I can't look at the code. None of us can look at the code of either game, really.
It's the same fucking code. I mean, come on. Like, I don't know shit about fucking development.
Okay,
I don't know shit about video games, but it's like, if you look at the lead time for how long video games are developed, it's like, how possibly could they have sealed off a part of that same company? Hey, you guys don't look at what we're developing for this other thing. Now, please we're going to tell you what we need to do, and they're going to, in a safe room, develop the exact same game.
But
Come on, brother.
The reason I say no is because those games function very differently.
Okay.
And I think whether they did or not, I can't. No one, I won't know that answer before anybody else does. But I know that those games play very differently, and that when it comes to developing, I bet there's probably enough leeway. Like, yeah, Bethesda made a very glitchy game, or let a very glitchy game get published.
Yeah.
And the person who made that game made a game with a similar same glitch. I don't even know what the glitch is. But we hear it's the same game, the same glitch. Like that could also just be habitual, of Bethesda putting out buggy games. I don't know. So I'm gonna say no, if only because I think there's enough wiggle room. I think that there's enough wiggle room for the answer to be no.
We're gonna debut a new segment here. Okay. Do you have a game that you would like to review or talk about right now? Something that you've been playing?
Yeah, I got something I could review.
All right. Well, do me a favor. Sure. This is a new segment. If you could find a instrumental beat to put on.
Okay.
This is going to be Tony's last word, where Bryce is going to review a game while I just back him up with a vocoder.
I see. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to type in some words onto Google. All right. So this is Tony B. Cassie's last word. I'm going to be talking about
let's get a little reverb. Turning it down. Yeah. All right, go.
So I want to talk about Nier Automata, the best game of 2017.
Best game.
Y'all, if you're not playing Nier Automata, I really feel sorry for you. Like, honestly.
Fuck you if you ain't playing it. It's the best.
Very rarely do you get a game that is both action-oriented and very deep philosophical story beats.
Get that in your brain.
Because if you told me you had a game where androids were trying to save humanity from evil machines, I would tell you, okay, cool, I know everything that happens in that game.
Wait, but what happens?
Not any of the things that you think are going to happen, and not any of the reasons. And I have a friend who played this game and was like, yeah, I finished it and I didn't get it. But what I found out very quickly was that he didn't even finish the game. It is a game full of surprises, like the ending of the game.
That's not doing your due diligence.
And this is a sequel, so it is building upon, an already existing game, but it's developed instead of from Square Enix by Platinum Games.
A purveyor of fine games.
You would know Platinum Games from Bayonetta or Devil May Cry. They made some Devil May Cries, right? Very action heavy.
Devil May Cry.
Very action-oriented character games, and that's what Nier Automata is.
What was your favorite part?
I have a hard time finding any better part than the very end of that game. The very end of that game says, hey, we've all had a real good time here. Would you commit to having a very good time in this game?
What do you mean by commit? You know that the vocoder is not the committing type.
There are only a handful of games that I know that ask you, hey, are you done playing this game? Are you done with this world enough to know that you're done with this world, and probably for good? And Nier is not the previous Nier did something very similar to this, but the moment when you make this decision, make a very heavy decision at the very end of the game, is very small. Like on paper, I don't think it's important or interesting, but in the moment when you're struggling and fighting to stay alive and beat something that is not very important, you are struck with what you can do and what happens when you do it, and the resources that are available to you.
Fight for the moment. 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 Tony B. Cassie, on a scale from 1 to 1,000, what would you give this game?
On 1 to 1,000, I think Nier Automata is a very solid 950. I think this is a really strong science fiction action game.
That's the final word from Tony B. Cassie. This is the best podcast I do. I just want to let you know. I don't know if I have more fun on any fucking show than video games.
Was it last episode where we had Jury's last word? Do you want to have a last word? Do you have any do you have any beef with Hearthstone right now?
No, I don't want to actually talk about video games that I play. Like, boring
Okay.
shit. I'd rather. No, this dynamic works
Because you don't play video
I
games.
have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about, and you have every idea what the fuck you're talking about, and I can make you not do a boring video game show, and you can make me do a video game show. Like this is the perfection of the yin and yang here.
I've been doing, with Brian out, I've had these weekends open. I've had more time free because we can't shoot anything without him. And so I've been doing a video games with Bryce thing here on the Twitch channel on the weekends.
Yeah. I've seen that you played. You've definitely been using the channel more, which is good because I think that the channel, the more that's on the channel, the better.
Yeah, and it's almost the opposite of this. Like, I really like this, talking about issues and talking about the state of video gaming. But the live stream video games with Bryce is like, I looked at like games coverage and or just people who make YouTube Let's Plays, video game content. And much like with games coverage, the best ones and the ones that I like are personality based, and it's people who have chemistry. And so what I've been doing is just like finding anyone who is online and saying, hey, do you want to just watch me play a video game for like 3 hours and we'll just talk and hang out? And, those have been really good experiences. Jen and I have done a couple. I had Curly on a little while ago. And so I really like doing that also, which is the flip side of this a podcast. It is the opposite of this.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, I am always fascinated with video games, and really video games to me are always a luxury that I can't afford.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's something where, like, I used to know people that wouldn't drink, and I'd be like, why don't you drink? And they would say, well, because I know I have an addictive personality, and if I started drinking, I'd never stop.
Yeah.
And I always think like, man, fuck you. That's bullshit. You're just a pussy or something. Like, right? But like, I understand that as I get older. Like, I understand that. I think that is wisdom as opposed to cowardice. That like, there is an element of like, I already put more time into video games now than I would normally, but I've always loved them. I mean, like I've always had a tremendous fondness, and I have only more fondness as I've developed and been friends with other people who have skill sets that are in the media sphere. Like part of me thinks like, hey, dick face if you had only like stopped trying to do all this other stuff and literally just kept playing video games your entire life and took your exact same skill set into video games media. I could have had a pretty good career. I could have, like, there's an alternate version of me that's like is doing an even bigger Patreon that I have now supporting myself, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, you know, that isn't the me that exists, and I can just appreciate it from afar.
Yeah, it certainly changed, right? You know, we talked about Giant Bomb before, and you look at the way that they do things now, and if you're any number of these new publications or personality-based sites that are spouting up, you would look at it and go, why would you do that even today? You know, they pay to host most of their videos. They roll their own subscription service, but also when they did it, you know, 10 years ago now, none of these things existed in a way to do it, right? There was no way to give people access to premium content. There was no way to roll your own subscription very easily or cheaply. And now that they're part of the CBS Interactive family, that, you know, my understanding is that works out just fine the way it is. But now that you have Patreons, now that you have live streaming, now that you have YouTube and Mixer and fucking IGTV, like the capacity is there for anybody, you know, regardless of the size, basically.
It's amazing. And you know, not to relitigate what we talked about earlier, but I do think that there's just something about this field that is not only resonant but prescient. It is sage-like in its prediction of where culture's going. But I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I feel like we should wrap up this episode of Video Games.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening to Video Games with Tony B. Casty. I'm the B in Tony B. Casty.
I'm the J in Tony B. Casty. It's a very Norwegian spelling.
The silent J.
The silent J.
Oh my gosh. Hey, when there are video games, hey, go play them. Go play video games.
Go play a video game, you fuck. Bye. I love you. So here's my favorite part about Video Games episode 2. And I don't know who said it, but at a point that we finished the vocoder bit, somebody said, I'm not sure if that bit worked, which is amazing.
Because it means we did a bit.
Thing to type in a chat that a bit within a fake podcast could be judged on whether or not it works or not. And I don't mean that in any kind of negative way. Like the fact that it's like we're doing a fake podcast and people are like, meh, I don't know, could be better. It's a fake podcast. It really makes me happy that the fake podcast, that the illusion was so strong, that the idea that like, no, I'm like making up bits so I can talk into the vocoder.
Okay, I know this is talking about video games, but can I share? I've been having this experience the past week. It's related to video games, I guess. You know, we stream here on Twitch.tv, a service that I generally don't use very much. Right? I have you know, I got people that I like, people that I watch. You know, I like watching Curly every so often. I was checking out Visual Jamie the other day. Stuff like GDQ or Buzzer, these always on things.
Yeah.
But I got into this about a year ago too, and I've kind of become fascinated with it again, which is the Grand Theft Auto 5 role-playing community.
So these are people that are using the Grand Theft Auto engine to like live out their own non mission related worlds and narratives?
Well, not quite.
Or
So
are they role playing like other people in the real world?
they're role playing. They're generally role playing cops and robbers, and the industry, the things surrounding that, emergency medical services. What I saw a guy today who was role playing as a judge of a server, like a court judge, and it's interesting. So
So they just are the people
Yeah.
in that world. And so if you're a judge, then you're really just making the judge decisions.
mm-hmm.
Gotcha. That's cool. That's rad.
It's neat, and you like see the cops and all that. Like it, I don't know that everybody does this. Probably they do though. It's like every person I've seen streaming who plays a cop knows all the cop codes, and they just use the cop codes like normal, which is great.
Yeah.
But it's weird because I'm like, well, dude, you're in your bedroom. Like you're
well,
giving me
but
cop
you want to
codes.
know what?
But
To me, that's so. It is a version of Second Life that I don't immediately feel like I should call the police on them preemptively for child murder.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
no shame on anybody who played Second Life, but for real, if you tell me that you were really into Second Life, I'm going to think
We're gonna know we're gonna know a facet of your jack procedure.
friend of mine once said. I won't say who.
Okay.
It's something that everybody knows. That Star Trek is for child molesters and Babylon 5 is for child murderers.
And suddenly you knew more about that person.
Well, I know.
Or do you think it actually
It's one
fed
of those
in?
things where whenever you like read like a serial child molester arrested, and then you're like, oh, there's pictures of his room and there's big Star Trek posters.
And oh my gosh. But it's so, they play with this modded version of GTA 5. I think it's called 5M.
All right, here, talk to the audience.
Yeah. And it's like built to have all of these new actions into it, right? Like you hit some buttons and you can pat someone down and you can see how many virtual weed they have on them or how many virtual alcohol they have, or you can get their you can check their ID and you can write warrants for people's arrests. And I think that's part of what fascinates me, is the fact that they have gone into this game, the most popular game on the planet, and built upon it a very huge way that is almost counter to the experience that the game intends to give you, right? The idea of Grand Theft Auto 5 is that you are in a playground and you are allowed to climb and jump and shoot and destroy anything as much as you want. And with role-playing, it is the opposite, right? You are in a community, and these community. This is a game where you can't have superheroes without supervillains, basically, right? So you have to have people who just play citizens and stir shit up, and find reasons to do that and find reasons to make conflict. But then you build in all these other elements that are for someone's entertainment, right? Someone likes playing the tow truck driver in this server, right? They like being the EMS. Someone probably plays dispatch or is the judge. The guy I was watching today who, was kind of getting into a little interesting conversation about it. Like, his whole channel is about him, like playing a judge. That's what people, all his emotes are gavel based and judge stuff. And I'm fascinated that you were able to take a game, kind of change it fundamentally, and make that a cornerstone of your presence. That's interesting. And Spindash Schwell says EMS sounds fun. It does, it's you get called to the scene of the crime, and there's a guy laying on the ground, and you're talking to him, and he's like, I broke my leg, and you talk to him.
God, old Pope. You broke your leg.
No. And And it's not like they've added game stuff on top of this, right? You're not the EMS and you're playing some fucking trauma center shit. You're like saying,
No, no,
I
no.
bandage you up, and then at some point you get to click the thing that says, I've healed them, and they're healed. Like, they're committing to this in a conceptual way, and I think that's fascinating.
I agree with you, and that's where like I bring the line to Second Life and beyond my totally unfair sideswiping of anybody who enjoyed that massively popular game. The idea that there are slightly more rules to it, I think makes it more exciting. That like, all right, look, this is a story about crime, criminals, police, tow truck drivers, judges, right? Like criminals cause crime, crime causes damage. There needs to be somebody that cleans it up. There's victims, like, but if you're a victim, you're not just there to be like, oh, okay, I guess I'll go get my pastries and then I'll bring them back and I'll live my life. It's not The Sims. You're waiting to either get robbed or join a gang, you know?
Yeah, there's a dynamic. The dynamic is either you are playing, you know, a civil servant or you are going to cause trouble. And you have to have people who cause trouble, right? You are creating... Okay, this kind of... I won't say too much more than this, but this directly ties into why I love Nier Automata. But you have to create conflict. You have to have that. Otherwise, neither side can be happy, right? The job of police in GTA 5 role-playing servers can never be done. Otherwise, they don't have a reason to exist. The role of people who are causing shit, speeding and killing people in these servers, if they have no one to butt heads with, then they'll just go play something else with themselves.
So here, Spin Dash 12. This is just role playing with video games. Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on.
And it's great. It's interesting to see. It's really interesting to see that, and the way different people, you know, handle how they are, you know, trying to entertain people or whatnot, or to entertain themselves. And you know, I watched some dude today who was playing. He was role playing as a cop, and he's got, you know, he's a partner. He's got a community. He had a bunch of people watching him, and that dude got a $2,000 donation, and like that. Not to like. I feel like I just measured his dick and told him how big his dick was, but like.
You just give his Twitter handle out, so we can all tell him that he's got a. We can all congratulate him on his gigantic dick.
No, but it's like this is
not
not
you a blue ribbon and a fine pheasant for your gigantic dick.
But what I'm saying is that these are not fringes, and these are not outliers. These are people who are creating. These are people who are like making a part of their online identity this facet, and to large, you know, to large response, to very great response, and. You know, these are the top. This is the top of Grand Theft Auto 5 on Twitch. It's not people going around and blowing shit up and it's people who are going and playing role playing, and maybe that's partly because you can that there's a longer tail on that. You can engage people for longer with, you know, these simmering role plays versus just kind of fucking around in Grand Theft Auto. But
well, yeah, I mean, because. How long? What's the most successful medieval fantasy video game you can think of?
The most successful medieval fantasy game.
Yeah.
Oh geez. I mean, like just
give me one with like a beginning, middle, and an end.
Probably if we were talking recently, I would say those Shadow of Mordor games.
Sure,
they made some Lord of the Rings games.
At the end of the day, it's not as successful as WoW, and WoW is you know, probably doesn't have the longevity and was inspired by Dungeons and Dragons.
Sure. In fact, you know what? Everyone's reminding me Skyrim. Skyrim is recent enough, and it still doesn't overcast.
Yeah. Guess what? Fucking WoW's gonna be making money because people want to be with each other because the communities that are built on WoW. I mean, fuck, man. When I went to BlizzCon, my first BlizzCon last year. It's like, I know this is like the oldest of old news, but like you look at like these are people that like we're at the point now where it's like people who were in guilds can be like watching their grandkids fuck each other, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's
Because-
some wild ass shit. That's some era defining shit right there.
Yeah, it's great to see, right? Because any type of community building is generally serving those people, certainly. But
Well,
tends,
you know, look, I have said forever that the internet is the lonely people's economy.
Mhm.
Like it is, there is a baseline of loneliness to the internet because it was begun on the idea of, hey, fuck the real world. Who's here?
yeah, who up?
This is a second chance. And now, because it's become the first chance, right? We've kind of lost that. But like, that's the forefathers. Like, we can't, you know, in the same way that in America, we lionize the idea that the founding fathers were people that were pissed off and decided they wanted to do their own thing.
Mhm.
We can never forget that the internet was because people were lonely and felt awkward at parties.
Yeah,
Like, and so these communities, these online communities, are like they're built on that very fundamental idea.
Mhm.
My
And-
like the people around me, I drew a shit hand in the lottery of people around me.
Hmm.
Right? Maybe I got one or two. I got like if I'm looking at a poker hand, like I got balls, like I got nothing, right?
Mhm.
But here, I can reshuffle as much as I want.
Yeah.
I can find exactly the hand that I want.
And you know, if you look at back to WoW, you know, since then, the ways that we can continue to stay in touch with each other have evolved and standardized. You know, I mean, not just email, instant messaging, but things like Discord, right? Where you can not just make one-to-one or group contact, but large community-facing spaces outside of needing a game or being around a game, creating multiples, being a part of multiple spaces like that for various interests. It's never been a better time to be in a community, and I still think, you know, that doesn't solve everything for everybody, but it's certainly better than the alternative, probably.
Yeah. Z4HC says, what's going to be built for people who are awkward on the internet? Varsity football.
This is tangentially related. I think when that Reddit redesign rolls out to everyone, I think there's a good chance we exile.
I get into a civil war.
Where we leave Reddit the same way we left Dig for Reddit. I feel like you get enough people who are still not upset because they're going to push it out before it's done and before it covers everything everybody wants.
But where do we go? Because that's the thing is Reddit was a thing
Mhm.
when Dig fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, remember, Reddit had already sold to Condé Nast, but was like crowdfunding for extra money
Mhm.
when Dig 4 fucked themselves.
Yeah.
So what is there now, or have we transcended the message board? I don't think we have, but maybe we have.
I think a lot of people will. I think a lot of people, if they say, I'm not going to visit Reddit anymore, will say, I don't need something to fill that because I have Discord, I have Slack, I have whatever. Like, I think there will be a large amount of spillage in whatever that transition is. And I think, I also think it's probably easy enough for someone to make a Reddit clone. There are plenty of Reddit clones out there, and I'm sure some of them are not, you know, Nazi forums. But you know, if people need a place that they can go to at work and find links for weird stuff, I'm sure people will build something. Certainly, everyone's trying to build. You know, Peach is still up. Did you see that Peach.cool is still up? You can just log into Peach and it's still there.
Oh yeah, Yeah, baby. I'm the king of peach.
You know, I think all of these social platforms that have faded are just trying to get mind share for when we leave Reddit, or maybe we leave Facebook, or
See, I would disagree. I
Yeah.
don't. I think that Reddit still serves Reddit's purpose in a way that Dig fundamentally misunderstood what they were there for.
yeah,
Like, yes, when you look at it, and this was a very early stages of Web 2.0 idea, and everybody thought that they had fucking invented the wheel when they figured it out.
Mhm.
That it's like, oh my God, when you really look behind the curtain, 30% of the people do 90% of the work. So all we need to do is tailor our shit to that 30%.
yeah,
And so that's where like Mahalo tried to kill Dig by hiring, like they literally just hired all the people that were the top 30% of Dig.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
And that wasn't the case. Because what Reddit has realized now that they watch Dig die by pissing off that top 30%, because they went the other way. Dig 4 was like, no. Let's not make it about the top people. Let's democratize it a little more.
let's curate it more and try to.
So my wife is trying to call me.
Oh,
Here we
sure.
go. Hold on.
She says you can put her on the air.
Hey,
Hey, you're on the air.
good. You don't pay attention to chat, so
Yeah.
how much later are you gonna be live? Am I good to stay out later?
Sure. Yeah, you're a
Okay,
grown
hi,
woman. You can say you can
know.
do what you want.
I know,
Hi, Ashley. Hi, Ashley's agency.
but like I'm just checking. Like if you're gonna be on for a while, if you're gonna get off, I'm gonna leave. So let me know.
Ooh.
Oh wait, so wait, you want me to text you when I sign off?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
All right. Thank
All
you.
right.
Love you. Hi, internet. Bye, internet.
Bye,
Okay.
Ashley.
Love you. Bye. What a bit an easier text message.
Oh man. Yeah, well, and you look at the ways that like Dig has reformed in the wake of all that, where they've leaned into it. They are a curated front page where, yeah, I guess you can submit stuff if you'd like, but they have an editorial team that just picks links and sometimes writes.
Well, because they need
Digests.
to be a front page that people immediately see and find worth in the way that Reddit can confidently be like, nah, whatever. Somebody photoshopped a cat into a shark, or somebody accidentally took a picture that looks like somebody's butthole, whatever. Like somebody discovered that TIL Hitler was a very bad man. Like, you know, that's fine.
Yeah.
But what Reddit understands is that it's about the person that wants to put in the effort right now, not when they get paid, not before. Right now, today, do you want to do the thing that gives you traction and validation today? And that's the thing that I don't think anything else does right now. Like, everything scratches a different part of that. You know, Instagram does, Twitter does. Although Twitter, Jesus, what a fucking like.
It's a train wreck.
Oh my God. It's like everybody I know, and this is like, let me begin this by saying
That's a good way to start.
we're in an apocalypse. Everyone's dying. We're going to be a dictatorship tomorrow. Okay, can we all understand that that's the baseline and move forward with the like? We're in this crowd. We don't need to spread the news. We can just talk about how the news is written.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're
Is Twitter just one card after another? Like the world's over, and it's like, oh,
it's
I'm
tough
not saying
because
it's not true. I'm saying
yeah.
that's heavy, Doc.
And part of that is that, you know, you're creating a feed that is based on the people around you and not necessarily the groups of people. You know, the idea like you know, Reddit, all the things you see on Reddit are from communities that are self-moderated and kind of have rules, whereas on Twitter, you are following everyone's individual journey through the day and through the news and through concepts. And sometimes that's interesting if you're on the same wavelength, but plenty of times you're not on the same wavelength. And
well, I mean, like beyond the same wavelength, it's just like Twitter to me right now is the other side of the double-edged blade of virality. It's like, what happens when virality is just the world's over, nothing you can do, fuck off and die, every fucking tweet, some version of that.
But and there are people who want that. I think that's where it comes.
I mean, yeah, apparently I do, because I've self-selected everybody that I follow, and that's literally all I get. It is the digital hair suit. Like I am just like, every time I open it up, and every once in a while it's a Simpsons meme, and I'm like, oh, I remember the Simpsons.
Yeah. And
then it's like, we're living in a modern totalitarian age. It's already too late. Fuck you. All the everything's getting warmer. We already fucked the planet. Fuck you. The guy who wants to build the spaceship that takes us off the planet is also running a shitty car factory. He's a fraud. Fuck him and fuck us. It's like, oh my God. There's like literally, it's not even, I mean, like even the stuff that's like, we must fight. That's where it ends. It's not like, hey, go do a thing. Here's where our progress is. Hopefully we make it to here. It's all like, the world sucks, yet we fight. And it's like, okay.
Are you quick to like do the audit on someone?
I feel very, very hesitant to unfollow anybody.
Yeah.
Because, and this might be early Twitter PTSD, but I don't know who lives that. Like, I subscribe to a site where everybody who follows me or unfollows me is reported to me, like they did on early Twitter.
Yeah.
Or they get like a daily report
update. Here's what happened.
How many people followed them and how many people unfollowed them.
Yeah.
And so, like, there are people, friends of mine's ex-girlfriends, that I feel bad about, like, unfollowing.
Really?
I'm very sensitive that I'm gonna make somebody feel bad.
I mean, I get. I actually went. Okay, so here's a tangent brought to you by OkCupid.com. So a few years ago, this was back when I
was it another fucking barista?
What was this guy? No, he was like a theater kid. He was some sort of theater kid. Back in Virginia, there's a guy I had matched with on OkCupid, and we were talking. And as I want to do, because people are foolish and dumb and use their real screen names,
yeah,
like, we are getting like OkCupid moved to like real names or something. But it used to be like I always had a fake screen name for those things, so people couldn't just immediately sniff me out.
Gotcha.
Most people did not do that, and it was this guy. We were talking for a little while, and I found that he had a Tumblr, and so I followed him on Tumblr. And so I told him mine clearly because he saw that I followed him, and for whatever reason, I guess I just decided to unfollow him while we were still talking, and he like texts me when I do it that he's like, "Why did you block me on Tumblr?" And he had one of those things that, like, I unfollowed him, but
this is my nightmare.
But also,
and like, I wasn't even in a like a hailing romantic relationship situation. Yeah. Like, but this is my. I have two fears.
Mm-hmm.
One, second on the list, is that somebody will yell at me for unfollowing them on social media.
Mm-hmm.
That is second to my number one fear, that they won't yell at me and will just harbor a grudge forever.
Man, that's so
This is the haunted house that exists between the ears that you see right here.
Yeah. So so you don't do the thing that I and other people that we know of do where we use lists? Question mark?
No.
So
And that's more that is not a conscious decision. That's more just me being bad.
So whether you do it for the same reasons that I did and other people do, the Twitter pro tip is to use lists and put everybody in a list. Go to one of those sites that you hook in your Twitter and mass put everyone into a list and use Twitter's lists feature.
Sites? I didn't know there were sites.
Yeah, they're like third-party apps where it's like authorize your Twitter account, and that gives them, the list, and you select all and you put it onto a list.
Everybody who's saying, "Oh, Jerry doesn't follow me." The reason why I'm stingy with follows, is because I don't want to add more.
Yeah, you don't want to
already burgeoning. And here's the other thing, and like the ex-girlfriend of a friend that I was just talking about, like she likes so many of my tweets, but yet I have to deal with her, like just going on, like just retweeting like the most. Here's something I will say: I judge who you retweet. I very much personally judge. Like I know, like political takes are my business now. I know basic bitch political takes. And if you're retweeting some basic bitch political takes, it's like, on either side, I'm just like, homie, this is click farming. Like you're literally just getting brought in because like this is why the Russians looked at Twitter and were like, oh, cool, I get it.
Yeah, we got this one. This will do.
It's so fucking easy to do.
So what I'll say is that use like the lists create a membrane, right, between who your account is following and who you're focusing on. Right?
Yeah.
Because I'll go and I'll look at all the people I follow. I'll go look at that timeline and see more posts than I normally would and see the likes and stuff. But a lot of times I want to hit the button that says, just give me the chronological feed of the greatest hits.
Yeah. You want to know what? I think I might have to do that. Although you want to know, I'm literally thinking through it real time. My first thought is, but what if I miss something?
But it's still there. Then you still have the home.
Like, yes, I'm digging through 1 million pounds of radioactive dirt, but what if there's a diamond in there?
Man, I in the past couple of weeks I've had a couple of people follow me on Twitter. I normally don't pay too much attention to who follows me or unfollows me or whatnot, but I noticed that some people who I really like on Twitter followed me. And I wasn't sure if it was because I had liked a lot of their stuff or I retweeted some of their stuff or I interacted with some of their stuff. But it was interesting to be like, oh, this person is watching and hasn't hit that unfollow button yet. So I kind of have to. I don't think it shows. I don't think it's been reflected in my tweeting, but it makes me think more about trying to tweet good or funny or interesting things.
Is that why you've stepped up your Twitter game?
Partially, yeah. I want to impress these
good
big dicks.
Twitter. It's like your Twitter exponentially better.
Oh, thank you.
And just like saying I cooked a tortilla and taking a picture of it.
Yeah. I definitely got out of the like cooking stuff pictures thing just altogether. Like it was at the point where it's like, it's not like I'm cooking anything really good even.
You're just kind of cooking some shit. I mean, it was like, it was cool
chop.
slice of life stuff, but it wasn't like, oh, hell, man, that's a great macaroni and cheese microwave kit.
Hey, I make the stovetop mac and cheese. Thank you.
All right. Fuck me. Fine. But no, now I like Pun Bryce. Yes. Related Pun Bryce is the best Bryce Twitter I have experienced.
Yeah, Donoche says, right, I try to up my Twitter game every time I mention it on Ritual Misery. Yeah. That's... Gambling Man has given me permission to tweet out Hawaii Kamo. I might take you up on that. But yeah, it makes me at least... So I was listening to a podcast the other day from some Twitter people who were like, I don't know, they were saying something about like, oh, you can kind of tell when someone on Twitter is like trying to do the thing that people who were writing jokes and shit on Twitter were trying to do 5 years ago and trying to get comedy writing gigs and stuff that, where that mine has pretty much been mined out. And like, the only reason I felt all right having heard that was that I'm not trying to get a comedy writing gig, right?
Well, that's the other thing is that, like, whenever you get into that, comedy writers might be the
least funny people?
No, not least funny. They're very funny. They're just sad and angry and bitter.
Sure.
Like, something to, like, when you watch like comedians in cars getting coffee, it's almost fraudulent. Like it is the like comedians in cars getting coffee is as realistic to an actual pair of comedians talking to each other and bullshitting as Frasier is a documentary about radio hosts. Like,
it's not.
That is a very dramatized version of that profession. If you ever met somebody in radio, they are the most fucked up, paranoid fucking people on the planet. Frasier is a funny, comedic version of it. And comedians in cars getting coffee is similarly although, tracking on transparency.
Yeah, it tries to be impromptu and off the cuff.
It is basically long form improv. Yeah. It is two funny people saying, okay, now we'll be funny against each other. Where a real couple of comedians are just very unfunny and very depressing and very bitter and angry.
And, it's very hard to try to record someone being impromptu, right? You can't put 3 cameras in front of someone and say, be natural. Especially if you are a seasoned performer and are used to being a person, an on person on stage.
No, because comedians know that. Comedians, I think, are very self-aware about how depressive and morose and weird they are. Yeah. Which is why it's like, oh, no. This is a gig. This is not a documentary.
I'm going to be the part of my persona that tells you about the other part of me, but I'm still going to be me. Yeah. In any case,
depression, internet.
Though, the other part of me is like, I'm not putting a lot of time into making my Twitter good, but I am thinking I'm trying to be more conscientious of it now, and like literally this conversation is making me think, well, like, what even for? Like, I guess like there's a self-serving side where it's just like it makes me feel good, and there's a self-accomplishment element to like feeling like you're putting up a good profile, which is very fucking Black Mirror. Now that I've said it out loud.
No. I mean, I think like there is a tremendous self-worth to being on Twitter. Like there's a great self-worth to being funny and to making jokes. I think that like the best part of comedy is making jokes that you believe are good, that you believe are funny. Like there is a great amount of self-discovery to that. So it's like I'm totally down with like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, mostly I guess I use my Twitter for either shameless shilling or like one step too complicated political or social commentary.
Right. You like started on square 3.
Like, can I just say a thing I did that I don't think anybody really understood?
Oh no, what?
Because I was again, it's like, I've always said that the internet is where sarcasm goes to die, and yet I continue to try to be sarcastic on the internet because I hate myself, and this is a self-expression of that.
Yeah.
But so the Chloe Dykstra, Chris Hardwick thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
There were texts leaked to TMZ about how she kept texting him after they had broken up. Did you see that?
I think so tangentially. I've only seen kind of the broad strokes on that whole story.
So that happened.
But I'm guessing it's this tweet with the question face.
Yeah.
Because I saw this and I didn't even get it because I was clued out of the story. So that was the sort of thing where I was like, I was not at step one.
Yeah. So and again, it's like fucking who would get it, right? Like I was just in a moment and I was talking the way that I would talk to somebody, you know. And so I'm like, oh well, but if you read her thing, if you read her letter, she talked about how almost immediately after she broke up with this dude,
Mm-hmm.
and she admits that she cheated with somebody else. She admits that she ran into the arms of another man. That she was blackballed. And so it's like, and that so at that point, that is where I tweet, yes, but why would someone being blackballed in a tiny industry want to make things better with their vengeful, powerful ex?
Sure. With that context, it's like, well, so that they are not blackballed.
Oh, right. And I'm like, oh, I'm so smart. Look at me. I'm understanding all these things and I'm making a thing about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then nobody likes it. And if anything, I almost feel like I piss people off because people might read it as, oh, but why would she want to do it?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Ooh. Yeah.
And then I immediately panicked and scrolled down.
Yeah.
I tried to explain it.
You're saying I don't know, it's messy, and like that again, like we started in step 3 and then this tweet is step 4.
I went to step 4 without
step 4.
explaining, hey, I'm talking about this.
Right, which is
Man.
which, you know, going back, you know, 15 minutes now, oh, hello, hi.
I may have called slightly buzzed. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, it's okay. Welcome home.
IR buzz.
It was good.
Yeah.
Would have been a better
guys.
text, but it was a good
Well,
call.
I was texting in the chat because I figured you would pay more attention to that, and you.
I was in the
weren't.
middle of a monologue.
Yeah,
about,
he was
like,
monologuing.
Dick Reddit
Wow,
or some
you're
shit.
a shitty streamer because you don't pay attention to the chat. This guy's unsub to this guy.
Don't. It's her rent.
Just kidding. Sub. Ring that bell. Smash that like button.
Faves are free.
All right, we should wrap it up.
Okay. My last point. Hold on. I was gonna
Go.
Well,
Yeah, get your last point out.
this feeds back, I think, into what we were talking about of like the political. We must fight, like constantly, like laying of arms and saying we're gonna make lines and start action because you have so many people wanting to do step 1, and you know it's a long bell. No one pays attention to step 2 unless it's the big thing, and it becomes sort of circular because everyone gives their opinion and then all the big people give their opinion, and it's the same. It's all on the first level of thought.
You are 100% right, because that's part of it. Is I'll read things that they're like so deep into their own logic
Mm-hmm.
that I don't even want to like acknowledge it, because it's like step 1, Trump is a fascist. It's like, all right, okay, that's a political
okay,
opinion.
yeah.
Step 2, milk is racist.
Wait.
Step 4, the sky is a government conspiracy. Step 6, 5's for fucking assholes, and you all know why. Like step 6, the Reasonable Doubt is Jay-Z's second best album.
And
Like-
we all know what number 1 is.
Yeah, Thread, and then 14 other fucking things.
No one's gonna read the fucking thread.
And so it's like,
Yeah.
it gets to a point where it's like, all right, look, there are elements here. Number one, I totally agree with, I'm empathetic to this. I want to embrace it, but there's like
We can't all start the thread.
Embrace. It's like I can't even get into and beyond the thread. It's like, you know, the thing I've seen the most is in politics. Everybody wants to tie everybody to everything. So it's like step 1, someone gets elected. All right, I'm with you. Step 2, this other random commenter says something to a famous person. And it's like, okay, well, that's a random person. That's not the same as somebody getting elected. Step 3, the Supreme Court makes this ruling. And it's like, I mean, technically, when you look at all the voting data of Supreme Court people, they don't hew as close to who nominated them as possible. Like, and we should really be looking at the history of these rulings as well. And it's like, no. None of that. It's like we're just like, no, sorry, that was step 3 in a 15-step reason why we're all dying.
Yeah. All right. Well, step 4 for tonight is we're gonna shut it down. Thank you, everybody. We're gonna toss it over to Joss Plays here on Twitch. So everybody, just let her know. Show her some love.
Joss, go get her. Joss.
Raid Joss.
Wait a minute. Wait. Now that we shouldn't go to Joss.
Okay.
Is Flint Flossy still playing? Flint Flossy was live.
Was he? I don't know.
Somebody find Flint Floss. Yeah, baby.
Turquoise.
Ready for that raid. No. It's like Flint Floss live or something. Oh, he's offline. All right, Joss.
Okay,
Joss. But go follow Floss, baby. Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna start the raid. We're gonna say goodnight to everybody. Go just. Say something real nice to her. We're gonna keep track. We're gonna watch. We'll know who's doing good. Love you guys. Where's my mouse? Okay, there it is. Okay, have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.